You're listening to freethinkradio.com.
It's showtime, Morty. And I don't mean a bad impression of HBO. I mean time for a show.
Set your harmonic resonators to 38. It's time for the show. Tonight, Doktor Faux and Tony Millionaire discuss, I don't know. Stay tuned for time for the show.
Fans, Morty, which we are not.
Broadcasting live from Subbasement 27 Studios in the heart of the Hypercube in Orlando, Florida. It is time for the show. Broadcasting live on freethinkradio.com. Join the live chat, timefortheshow.com. Click the Discord button. No dilly-dallying tonight because we have an honest-to-goodness working professional. I think he's even working during the show. Taking time out from me screwing up by not looking at the calendar. I can make an excuse. I'm not gonna. But why bother? It's time to pop open a bottle and introduce Dr. Reverend Mr. Baron Tony Millionaire, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. Doctor, you can just call me Mr.
All right, we can settle. Well, we won't say settle. We would never settle up for anything around here. You could be an honorary, but yes, Mr. Tony.
Let's call me Tony.
I appreciate that.
So,
you are a prolific artiste, if we're going to use the A word. And we've got some works that I figured we'd check out on the show tonight. And talk about some stuff. So, generic intro for Tony Millionaire. I can't think of another way to put it away, so I'm not going to think. I'm just going to say, what do you do?
I'm a cartoonist, sir.
All right. So you've been cartooning for about how long now?
I drew comics when I was in high school. That was a long time. Whoa! Just pulled my cord out of my ear. That was a long time ago. But professionally, I started when I was about 40. That was 23 years ago.
So I was brushing up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I was brushing up on that Wikipedia page, and so you came up in a family of artists. Was paper and pencil something that was often around?
Absolutely. I asked my mom when my kids were growing up. I said, they're getting to be older. Should I enroll them in some kind of drawing classes or art classes or something? She said, no. All you should ever do for them is give them lots of art supplies and tell them everything they do is great. So that's what she did.
Yeah, it was. I believe Chuck Jones's father worked in a paper factory or a stationery factory, so there was always never a short supply there. And
right.
I've always had some around. So you seem to have a particular style. For me, it's kind of reminiscent of like woodcut and turn of the century comics. Some of the the Yellow Kid and things like that.
I love that stuff. Yes, I've always drawn. My grandfather was a pen and ink illustrator, and he always had lots of pencils and ink around all the time, and he loved comics. So he would always show me the comics on every Sunday. We'd go to their house and hang out, and they would be working. My grandmother and grandfather. My grandmother was an amazing watercolor portraitist, which is hard to do with watercolor, but she was fucking great. And he really introduced me to comics, but they were always old comics, Mutt and Jaff and all the beautiful old stuff. And he had collections of the stuff that he had saved, just like pages from Sunday Comics from like the 40s and the 30s. And so that's when I started really liking comics. So I've never really read comic books. It was always old newspaper comics.
So that's carried on, and so you had been drawing, and you started developing characters. I think I had read somewhere, probably the Wikipedia again. So you did something when you were younger. You came up and started designing your own characters around 9.
Yeah, I did. I did a comic strip called Zero Man, which was about a little egg-shaped guy with a zero on his chest, and he had a cape. And he would fly around. He would do stuff like, I am the wonderful, spectacular, stupendous, amazing, and then he'd crash into a telephone pole, and he'd land on the ground and say, Zero Man. And my parents, at one point, thought that I was nuts, because I was like, I broke some shit, I guess. I forget. I punctured holes in the roof of my father's Rambler. So I went to a psychiatrist, and the guy said, I told him I drew comics. He said, what kind of comics? And I said, Zero Man. And so he asked me to draw it for him. So I did. They thought I was depressed. So I did, and they said, his comics is like, they're kind of depressing. So I drew the Zero Man for him, and he goes, oh, like Charlie Brown, depressed. I said, yeah. He said, no, whatever. So he sent me home. He said, he's fine. He's just drawing comics.
I actually shared a similar experience. I was drawing through high school, and I had a teacher that I guess I would constantly frustrate. And
Right.
it was a mathematics class. I think it was like a trigonometry class, right at the end. And we had to illustrate this mathematical function, which I have no idea how you're supposed to do it in the eyes of the law, the school.
Right.
But the topic was forced subtraction. So I had drawn a bank robber kind of guy with a flat face, and I referred to him as the no-nosed bandit.
Right.
And he was holding up a guy at a 7-Eleven, and he was saying, "Give me all the money." And the guy behind the counter responds, "I can't open it until you make a purchase."
Right.
And so that got me, because the bank robber had a gun, or the store robber. So, yeah, I got pulled into an office, and I was asked, is everything okay? How are you doing? Are things okay at home? And they just, he flat out asked me, I'm like legally obliged to ask, are you planning to shoot or blow up the school or anything? And I said, not right now, no. And but that's when they asked me to, if I was going to continue drawing in their institution, that it would be suggested that I use stick figures, so as not to, so no one would feel that I was pointing them out or like, hey, that looks like me. Yeah. And so I ended up just drawing the most violent stick figure comics I could for the rest of the year, and that's stuffing them in my binder. So that's from a side I can appreciate. I hope that anecdote isn't too greasy, but I can appreciate that. So do you draw to work things out? Do you ever just get like a joke in your mind? You're like, well, let's get that out, or are you more conveying how you're feeling at the moment, and you use the characters to put that in?
Hang on about that for a second. Of course. But let me just tell you that my brother, he drew a snowman, and he used a black crayon to draw it. And they said they took him down to the school counselor and said, "You drew a black snowman. That's bad. There's something wrong with him." And he's like, and the school counselor said, "What are you talking about? He used a black crayon. He didn't color it in. He used black." They thought that drawing with a black crayon, drawing a snowman with a black crayon meant that somehow he was kind of demented. Totally fucking neat.
That's insane.
Idiotic.
How long ago was that?
See, you're younger than I am, because nobody would ever raise an eyebrow from somebody drawing a picture of a guy with a gun. It was, that was all cowboys and Indians and war characters that always had guns, so that was no big deal at all. But I guess nowadays it's, a gun is, oh my God, watch out, he's got a gun. But as for your other question, of course, all of my stuff, pretty much every comic strip character I draw is kind of a self-portrait,
Mm-hmm.
And I really got a hold of that freedom, that luxury of being able to like talk about my own depression or my own mind and my own thoughts that came into my head because I had a comic strip where I could do anything I wanted, this weekly strip. So every time any kind of a joke or a thought comes into my head, I just write it down, and eventually I go through the notebook and come up with ideas through that. That was later though. That was with the Drinky Crow stuff. That's when I went in my 40s and I started really drawing professionally.
And that's where it kind of shifts. And you didn't just continue doing the strips, you did some stories too, and that would be like Sock Monkey. Yeah.
The thing is, the strips, it's I drew a comic strip called Maakies.
Mm-hmm.
And in that strip, it's about a drunken crow and a drunken monkey, and they sail around on ships, and they, blow each other up and cut each other's limbs off, and, all this kind of, just demented shit with, like, as most fucked up jokes I can think of.
Fun stuff.
Yes, and the thing is, it was so dark that I thought to myself, well, there's some other shit in me, this sort of, like, the stuff that I picked up when I was living in my grandmother's Victorian house, where I just love all the... Who's sneezing in the background?
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at, man.
Yeah.
That was Reverend Codeine in the audience here.
Oh, Reverend Codeine. And so slap him around. And so I thought I want to do something that shows that part of me, that sort of like the magic of little dollies in the attic and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started drawing the Sock Monkey. Thing is that as I would draw them and write them, they would always end up like being demented and like burning the house down in the end too. So, my creepy side always snuck in there anyway. So, and it's a good balance because you can tell I'm trying to draw something sweet and innocent, and then the fucking creepy shit creeps in. It's almost like it's not forced, so it feels more sincere,
Well, and it blends rather well too, because you've done. You have this kind of nautical theme that carries a lot over in like the Victorian house, and something like that. The sea monsters that you have, or at least the ones that I've seen, and other creatures that lurk around inside of the stories. Is that 'cause what's interesting to me is it still looks like they're crafted for that world.
Right.
It's not a direct parallel of where we live. There is this hint of fantasy in the stories.
Right.
It's not supposed to be here, where every comic book now is supposed to be, it could be happening right outside and we don't know about it. No more super incredible Spider-Boy and in adventures and so on. That ties in together. So, the creepy and the weird factor. And then, of course, you kind of nail it with the Victorian era, because I guess that is just our creepiest time here is what it always comes back around to.
Right.
Where did you grow up at? Were you a coastal boy?
Yeah, I grew up in Massachusetts. I've never liked any references to modern shit. That's why I don't do any kind of like political stuff or stuff about what's life like in the modern day, because it's always just like, I don't want to live in this time. I mean, I'm glad we live in this time, because I'd be dead if I lived in another time, because they've got doctors now in hospitals that can patch you up.
Absolutely.
But no, I grew up in Massachusetts, and my one grandmother on my father's side had a big Victorian house, and it was filled with like stairways that we would slide down, and mysterious attics and back stairways and stuff. And then my mother's side, my grandfather with the comics, he and my grandmother, they lived in Rockport, Massachusetts, jutting out into the Atlantic Ocean. So they were always like drawing paintings of, boats and harbors, and that's why so when I think of like the stuff that's the most magical part of me, it's like when, I don't know if a lot of people do this, you delve into your childhood and what you remember when shit was really magical all the time,
Yeah.
And for me, that's about ships. My grandmother, the house that they lived in, which was just a little like a garage, a converted garage, but she used to live. Her father was a doctor, so they used to live in a big mansion. The guy had a billiards room, you know.
Sure.
And so when they moved into the converted garage, they brought all the furniture and the old clocks and stuff with them. So it was like a weird Victorian, like almost like a museum or like a junk store, you know, like filled with this beautiful stuff all of it. So I just always loved that like, it's weekend, we're going to go to either one of the grandmother's house because it's like going back in time almost, you know.
Yeah, and it's always an evoking process and going back, because now I've got my first kid, so I'm trying to build a world for them that, you know, when they see pictures from years ago or some of the goofy shit that we have on the shelves here, it's something that can, you know, evoke, you know, what we were doing here at this time and what was kind of relevant. But even then, we're slightly anachronistic here. We're kind of stuck in the 80s, but we're also pushing forward, because I'm, you know, I don't want to say I'm a futurist, and it doesn't sound like you're a regressionist, so I can appreciate that, we're living now that we have doctors in medical service and the internet and a lot of really cool stuff that we can manipulate with. And that's what I enjoyed about the show, the Drinky Crow Show, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
Was that it was just that dark gray sky, and everything just seemed dirty. And that was a standard for so long, and you're not really glorifying anything by saying, remember back when things were like this, and you can actually kind of point at it and be like, you should be grateful for what you have now, because life really used to suck.
No, Jesus Christ, no. Life used to be quite beautiful. I mean, if you look at any old Victorian house, these guys, every craftsman knew how to like design a doorknob as a real thing of beauty. Or I was just looking today at the hinges on these. I just moved into this beautiful old building built in like 1850 or something in Schenectady, New York. I just moved out to the East Coast, and I'm just looking at the shutters that are these huge high ceilings, and the shutters that shut they're inside shutters, so you can shut out the light. So and just the little hinges I've got like floral design and shit in them. Every little doorknob has got some beautiful little, you know, filigree or I don't even know what the word filigree means. I just made that up. I didn't make it up, but I don't know what it means. But like,
we'll get the chat
you know,
on
little designs and sculptures in every single little thing they made. Even like, I'm looking at a window sash right now. There's like 3 different channels of wood in every sash. You don't do that anymore. There's no reason to do that except that it looks good. So things in those days were much more beautiful.
I will give you. I guess I was leaning more like on a societal kind of.
Oh yeah, society.
Everything's all. Yeah, well, it's 2.0 now. Well, no sharp corners. Everything's got to be smooth.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about like the absence of slavery in American society, anyway.
Yeah, that's turned a couple things around. Yeah,
that's the ugly part that they had, which is women couldn't vote, and you know what I mean. I'm talking about the society's got. Now people complain like, oh my God, society is it's going to shit. It's not at all. It's going in the opposite direction. Things are getting much better slowly, as we move along. As long as we don't have regressive fucking douchebags like the politicians in power now.
Yeah, it's a bell curve, and we're constantly moving on. It doesn't mean that all the bad things are going to stop. You do have to whittle them away. But I kind of like living in this part of the world where we're actively trying to chip away at it, while in other places they are building up much more horrifying ways to disenfranchise everybody from each other and to impose their will upon those people
and to kill each other. I mean, come on. I mean, I remember reading about World War I, where people were shocked because these machines that started coming out. I mean, before that, warfare was like you'd stand in the field and you'd shoot, and your musket ball would usually go way up in the sky or into the dirt. Now and then it would hit somebody, so it'd be a huge battle, and you'd be like, "Oh my God, 400 people died."
Yeah.
What?
It took the shot around the world 10 minutes to fire.
Yeah, it took 10 minutes to fire the thing, and then it probably fucking you landed in a tree somewhere. But the thing is that then in World War I, when they came out with Gatling guns and tanks, and people were like, "What the fuck?" They had to hide in trenches for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And then there just came the mustard gas and all this. Like, oh my god! So being able to kill somebody is getting much easier as we move along. So there's the beauty and the ugliness all at the same time, constantly.
It should make you slow down and appreciate it when it comes around.
Yeah, that's true.
Do it the old-fashioned way. Take them to a Victorian house.
Yeah, exactly. Take them to a Victorian house and we'll stand in line and everybody will pull out their own little pistol and spend 3 minutes loading it. But as far as you just mentioned showing your stuff to kids, I've always felt like, because I grew up reading Winnie the Pooh, I hated every fucking animation they've ever made of that beautiful book. Reading Winnie the Pooh, the fine little pen and ink drawings that are in that original book, and books like Beatrix Potter and Winnie, Raggedy Ann, Raggedy Andy, those books, the paintings in them, the watercolors and stuff was just so beautiful. And I always try to keep that stuff around for my kids because I want them, because they're artists, of course. And my two girls, Phoebe and Pearl, they're teenagers now. But when they were little, it was like, I want to leave this beautiful stuff around them all the time, fill their world with just gorgeous, beautiful stuff, because, especially old-fashioned stuff, because it was prettier then, because they're going to grow up, and as artists, they're going to say, hey, the world is ugly. Why the fuck is it ugly? It used to be beautiful. I remember when it was beautiful. Let's make it beautiful again. Let's do something to make it more beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, make the world beautiful again.
Shove beauty into their face as much as you possibly can while they're young, so that they'll strive to get it as beautiful as it once was to them.
Yeah, I think that's there with, and it's you got to encourage people for it.
Yeah.
Bring it out of them. Being creative seems to be. I don't know the right way to put it, but now that there's all these new avenues of exposure, primarily via the internet, but YouTube and Netflix, and being able to get a website to put your comic up and stuff like that. For me, it was daunting at first. It was like, well, how do you even step into it? Because already, there'd be somebody like you that's already got years of work that they can put. They'd be like, hey, this is what I've been doing for the past 20, 30 years. And then you have people that are already, they're not doing, I don't want to say they're not doing a good job, but they're not putting out some great content, but they're sticking to it. And you're like, well, I'm swimming around in an ocean with it. At the same time, it's like, well, if you don't do something and you don't make something happen, then it doesn't matter how much you're going to worry about it. You're going to end up not affecting anybody or trying to influence any kind of change or something like that. And I stay away from politics and the news, and I basically just watch cartoons or comedians all day.
Good idea.
I get my news from comedians and not from late night shows.
Yeah.
And it's just easier. It's easier for me to sit back and relax. And anytime that there is something really I don't know if it's bad, you're talking to your folks, you end up going over to a friend's house. I'm just pissed off about and you can just automatically assume they don't even know half about what they're talking about, and it's just like, I'll sit back and let you vent. Let's talk about cheese.
Let's talk about cheese, please, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Well, that's why I like to listen to podcasts for news, especially if somebody like you listen to the Chapo Trap House or the Majority Report. These because these guys are funny, and they're telling you the news, and they're mocking the politicians, and they'll play clips, or they'll play some sound or video, and then they'll mock it, and they'll do it if they're intelligent and know what they're talking about and what they're doing. They will make it interesting. It's entertaining to watch the news, so you don't just your head doesn't get filled up with dry bullshit, and then you're like, what the fuck? you end up screaming at the TV. But if you watch a show like that, they're screaming at it for you and you're going along with it. So you know what I mean.
You don't feel alone.
It's a good way to. Exactly. You need like some kind of a tribe or some community to be with, and it's nice that you can like. It doesn't stop you from being an activist or doing something, but what it does is like it shows you that it's not just like if it's so dry that you just get angry and you shut down from it and turn it off. That doesn't help anybody.
You need an escape mechanism from it.
Right.
If you're going to even, it's a drug. It is a hard drug, and people are hooked to it. And as soon as they get away from it, they just have to share whatever it is that has just recently upset them, whether they've scrolled by it on Facebook or heard it on CNN or something like that.
Thanks. What?
Oh, just filling air, basically just agreeing with you there. But yeah, tribalism is good. So
tribalism.
With that, who are you working with right now? Are you working solo? I think you told me you were doing commissions right now, but who's in your tribe?
Right, yeah, my tribe is like my tribe is Facebook and all my goofball friends there. I like to get on and be as funny as possible because not only does it keep my mind sane, it also promotes my work. But what I'm doing for work now is right now I am drawing commissions because it's Christmas time. Everybody wants to draw either the doggy or the kitty, so I just get a shitload of work right now. So I'm busting through like dog and cat one after the other. I'm doing a lot of pet portraits. People like it. I can charge plenty of money, and it pays more than comics, and I just draw and draw and draw. So I'm just sitting here listening to the news on the radio, listening to podcasts, and just belting them out. But what I love to do is drawing the comics, and I haven't done my Maakies, the Tricky Crow comics I haven't done it for years now, like four years I think.
Been a little while, yeah.
I had to kill off Tricky Crow because like my last newspaper folded. And I was like, well,
they all fold. They're newspapers.
They folded because they're newspapers, and I was so used to working for newspapers. People were telling me, well, do it online. I'm like, do what online? Do it where? The web. I was on a couple of pages, pages that would pay me to pick it up, but they didn't have any money. They couldn't, so I couldn't really afford to do it anymore. I mean, I've got kids. I got to pay for them, and I can't spend a whole day working, for $100.
Understandable.
So, or less. It was a lot less usually. I mean, when you can combine, they'll give you like $10 or $20 to be on a webpage, but even those all kind of dried up with the comics. I don't know, but so I just stopped doing it. So then people were like, "What are you doing? You should just do it anyway." I'm like, "Yeah, I would love to have that luxury, but I don't right now because they're about to go to college." So then somebody told me, "Well, you got to." Everybody kept saying, set up a Patreon," and I said, "I'm not going to pass the fucking hat for $50 a month. Are you crazy? That's not going to work." But I didn't realize what Patreon is now. And they're like, "No, stupid." Somebody emailed me, goes, "I can help you set up the Patreon so you can make thousands. Don't be ridiculous." So the thing is, if you set up a Patreon page properly and you get people to pay, a certain amount of money to see it, of course you give them the comics for free, but everything else, all the little details, all little videos and shit, like that Route Cat video I sent you today.
Yes.
I read a comic strip with a weird costume in a weird place and, fire off a pistol. I have a flintlock pistol. I wouldn't glorify like regular pistols like that, but a flintlock is just fun.
I got you on that.
Makes a lot of smoke and a giant bang. That's fun. Plus, it's old fashioned. I make little games, and I just, you can get rewards and all that. But the thing is, I'm setting that up now, but it's taken so long because a guy that I had working on it flubbed it up, and then now this woman I'm working with, she was doing really great. We had it all ready to go, and then I moved out of here because I ended up getting a divorce, which I was told that it's going to go a lot faster than you think it's going. Now get the fuck out. So I said, okay, good, no problem. So I packed all my shit into a U-Haul and drove it across the country.
Wow.
where I've now got a great setup over here because I've got a lovely girlfriend who's very kind and nice, and a beautiful fucking apartment.
Great.
Yeah.
And you're back over in the New York area, but not in the city. You're like upstate?
Yeah, I'm in Schenectady, up just north of Albany. It's fucking beautiful up here.
Wonderful.
It's like I got this apartment and I set it up. I was like looking out the window, like you can see all these old buildings everywhere. It's in a historic district, so it's just gorgeous. And it's like I fell into the Sock Monkey comics, you know. And then I finally got the bed set up and I lay down on it, test it out. I looked out, looked out the window. There's the city hall, the most beautiful city hall I've ever seen. It's white with like you know, parapets on it. It looks like a castle from some weird Star Wars movie with, you know, coming out of the trees. Just gorgeous here. And you hear like a church bell go off now and then a train rumbles by. So I put a ship in a bottle up in the window on the windowsill. So if I lay in bed, I look out the window. When a train goes by, I can see cars going by on the road down underneath. Then I can see a train going by. Then I can see my ship in a bottle, and then I can see an airplane. So I can see all the transportation at once. Good, huh?
Yeah, who needs a TV at that point? Just lay back and enjoy. I grew up in upstate Georgia, and so trains are something that were always calming for me at 2 and 3 in the morning, cranking through, and that was always pleasant. And we lived out in the woods, and now I've been in the city for like 20 years now. So I'm glad that you've been able to find something that it seems like you're able to delve back into what you enjoy or what was inspiring you as you've made like a not necessarily a full circle, but now you're
it kind of is a full circle. You're right.
But it kind of that it's it came out that you were brought up in it with a family atmosphere, and now that future decisions and consequences have already been made, but you have the availability to choose something like that.
Well, it would be a pure paradise, except I do miss my daughters. I mean, one of them in college, and one of them she's still in high school, but the last years of high school. So it's not as bad. Don't feel bad about leaving them because they're old enough to handle it. But my daughter's not taking it that well, but whatever. She'll be all right.
It'll balance out. They'll get. It's college for one, almost for the other one. So it's give them a little nest room, and then come visit me up in Schenectady.
Yeah. Don't say Schenectady. People don't like that. But it's also people like to fuck around with that word. But people that live here don't like it.
Oh, I can understand that. There's street names in this city that drive people crazy.
The fact is that when I go home, I don't have to drive across country in a U-Haul, sleeping in the car all the way, which I loved. And then it was just like a fucking trek. It was great. I was going to stop in hotels all the way, and I said, fuck it, I'm just going to keep driving until I find a hotel. So I was driving, it'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm not going to find a hotel. So I pulled the car over at a truck stop and went to sleep. I woke up in the morning, I'm like, this is better than any hotel. I'm not spending an hour taking a bath and hanging around, you know what I mean? I'm just like sleeping and getting up and going. But the good news is, on the way back, they have invented the airplane, and the airports are not shut down, so
for now,
all I have to do is just fly back. I can fly back and forth. It's pretty easy.
Well, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So where you're living now? I guess we can make a transition because we're a few minutes into the show. So is this where you've been filming some of these projects over the past couple of years? Or I guess, you just moved here, but you've I told you earlier what made me reach out to you is you had posted a song, and there's a music video, which I'll drop the link to in the chat.
Okay.
But is this out in your new homeland?
No, that took place in Pasadena, where I live in California. And my friend Tim Maloney just finished a documentary called The Tony Millionaire Show.
Wow!
It's like 2-hour documentary about just film footage of me doing all the fucking crazy shit I've done, all the Tony Millionaire shows I used to put on, performance art, and all that crazy, wacky, drunken shit. And old friends of mine being interviewed, and there's a lot of artwork in it and a lot of videos. So what I did was I had protested. I resisted it for so long. I said, I don't want you to make a goddamn documentary about me. I'm not dead. You can make documentaries about people when they're almost dead or dead. I said, no, I'm doing it. Because he really wanted to make it. And then I found out that he had already been interviewing ex-girlfriends and old friends of mine. What the fuck? My mother called up and goes, who are these people that want to interview me for some documentary? I said, what? I hung up on her and I called him up and said, you motherfucker, you are not going to do this. He says, yes, I am, Tony. I already started it. So then I saw a little bit of the footage. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I didn't realize it was really good. So I said, okay, fuck it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make your documentary better. I'm going to help you. So I started like getting costumes together, and I had a war with myself. I have a flintlock pistol I inherited from my father, where it's a big Navy pistol, and it has a 62 caliber muzzle on it. It's huge. It fires them. I don't like to shoot musket balls out of them because they'll go right through the neighbor's fence and then shoot their cat. But if you put a marble in it, it fits perfectly, like a regular cat eye marble.
Yeah.
And it just bounces off of wood because it's not heavy. So I like to shoot those out of it and blast shit. So I made a video of me wearing like this weird, like, kind of like, how do I describe it? Like a Turkish uniform from the year 500 with big feathers coming out of the top of it. And I shoot myself dressed as a French ship captain with like a big, Ponzi wig and a little hat on top of it with feathers coming out of it. We went to the costume shop to get that costume, and I had a battle with myself. So I was shooting myself using the same pistol, of course, but don't tell anybody.
Secrets.
So one of us gets killed in it. But anyway, then I did that video that you're talking about, which was me with this. I put a American Army helmet. I painted it gold. I put these. I was going to put duck wings on it, but somebody gave me a goose, so the wings are huge. So stuffed, a taxidermied goose, and I put these huge wings on it. And then, I wear wigs under it. But then I was like, when I had the goose, I was like almost finished with the hat. I was like, what am I going to do with the head? So I cut its head close to the neck, and I stuck it on the front of the helmet. And I'm like, what am I going to do with the feet? So, of course, if you see me from the back, the feet are sticking out. So I put that on with wigs, and then I sang a song out in the middle of the desert. Not the desert, excuse me. It's Pasadena, so we're up in the mountains. We did it in springtime, so there's like long grass everywhere. It's very soft and beautiful. And I sang a song called Marion's Bicycle.
Well, I think we should cue up Marion's Bicycle, and when we come back, you can tell me more about Marion's Bicycle, as well as everybody here. So, an excerpt from the upcoming documentary, The Tony...
Hang on a second.
Yes.
Hang on. Let me interrupt you just to tell you quickly the story that you're about to hear. See if you can pick out the German. It's a song I wrote in German about a bicycle that I got a job with my friend Ted to weld a fence, just made out of any kind of metal they wanted. It was a temporary fence, but we wanted it to be arty about it. So we took all kinds of sheet metal or pot metal, or not sheet metal, but old fences and stuff, bed springs. We painted them black and welded them all together to make a fence. And some little kid walked up and goes, Tony, this British kid, you want to buy this bicycle? Yeah, we'll buy that bicycle. We'll give you 10 marks for it. It's like, all right. So we bought it, welded it into the fence. And then the woman who owned the bicycle walked by the next day. She said, well, that's my bicycle. Her name was Marion. This German woman. She started crying because we had welded it. So we had to buy her a new bicycle. But it's the story of Marion's bicycle.
Which is now a fence.
What you do. Which is now a fence, yes.
Perfect.
So go ahead. Do what you got to do.
Let's do it. From the Tony Millionaire Show, it's Marion's Bicycle. We'll be right back.
If everyone would like to hear a nice song, this is a song called Marion's Bicycle. Und David hat's gestohlen. Ted und ich hab nach Vater gekauft und den Zaun daraus geschweißt. Marion hat den Vater gehabt und David hat's gestohlen. Marion, oh Marion, Marion, Marion. Ted und ich hab nach Vater gekauft und den Zaun daraus geschweißt. Kind of messed up, didn't I, at the end?
So who are the young ladies playing the violins?
Two little 12-year-old girls from my neighborhood. They were friends of my daughter's, and they knew how to play the viola. They were not violins. In fact, they have T-shirts that say, "It's a viola. It's like a violin, but cooler."
Nice.
A viola is a little bit bigger than a violin.
Slightly. I thought it was the other way around. I thought a violin was bigger. Maybe I'm thinking of a
viola
fiddle.
A fiddle and a violin, I think, are the same thing, depending on how you play it. If you're a hillbilly, it's a fiddle, and if you're playing in chamber music, it's violin.
Bringing the sophistication of it back.
Yes. It depends on how you play it and who's playing it. But a viola is slightly bigger. It's not nearly as big as a cello or a viola. It's. But anyway, they could play it, and they played the song. And when we were warming up, they said, "Tony, the song you're playing on the accordion is totally different than the song that you asked us to play." I said, "I know I kind of screwed it up, but go ahead, just play it the way you rehearsed it." So they play it, and then I play the accordion, but I don't know how to play the accordion at all, so I totally fucked it up. So the director, Tim, came back with his violin, and he added to it so that it at least carries the tune.
The magic of editing saves you again.
Yes, exactly. And he's very good at that kind of stuff. He actually played it on keyboards, but it sounded just right. No, he played the violin. The accordion. He knows how to play an accordion.
It's kind of like a keyboard and a violin squeezed together.
Yes. I guess. But I dressed them up, and I took some straw hats and turned them into tricorn hats like a farmer would wear, and I put big feathers in them so that I like feathers. So they looked got them some little gowns that they wore, so they were very happy to do it.
So this is for this. Now, is this for the documentary, or is this just being included into it? Just being a 4-letter word. It's
plopped right into which is the 4-letter word?
Just.
Oh no! It is plopped into the middle of the documentary with a lot of little films we made. So it's chock full of funny and chock full of weird, and also lots of interviews with my auntie and my cousins talking about what it was like living at my grandma's house. So it's the arty side of my life. I mean, they were real artists. I came from a whole family. My mother is interviewed in it. A lot of it's a potpourri. Lots of good stuff in it.
It's appreciable.
And
it's a good collective, and it should
Yeah.
give any newbie or diehard fan a good look into how it crafted you into the machine you are today.
Right.
A beautiful machine.
So I have a beautiful machine. So there's a lot of comics in it too, fortunately, because that's what it's all about.
So now that every comic is getting bought by Disney and getting made into a movie.
Yeah, let's do that.
So would you? Who's going to provide the voice of Drinky Crow in the Drinky Crow Marvel movie?
Well, I don't think there would definitely not be a Marvel movie, but there is a movie in the works, which is about the Sock Monkey.
Okay, let's hear about that.
Yeah, I got a couple of real big shot writers. I won't tell you who they are or what they've done, but they're
That's
big
fine.
shots. And they've taken, we had lots of conversations about how it should look and what it should be. And they know how to do, things that are movies that you can actually sell. And what I'm mostly interested in is getting money.
Absolutely.
Now, these guys are good at that, so I'm happy. So I'm just hoping that it happens because at this stage of the game, we're working on a script. At this stage of the game, from here on out, there's a million ways that it could just totally fucking fall apart and nothing happened at all.
Sure.
Or it could get halfway made, I get paid a bunch of money, and then it doesn't get made at all. Or it goes and wins me an Oscar, and I get more money. So either way is good, as long as I get a bunch of cash.
That would, Tony Billionaire is what we need to make happen right here.
If they make a really good movie out of the Sock Monkey, which I can't imagine how you couldn't do that because it's a fucking beautiful comic book. If you can't, if they make a really, really fucking horrible movie that I'm embarrassed about, it'll be a big fucking drag, and I'll just sit there and I'll cry while I'm sitting on the veranda of my big fucking beautiful house in Schenectady, New York. Or it'll be a gorgeous movie, and I'll sit on the bigger veranda of my bigger house in Schenectady, New York. And either way, I'm going to get myself a fucking mansion out of it.
Perfect. Now,
If it goes to that. And if not,
if you don't, you're gonna like it if it comes through. But well, if it stops. Okay, let me rephrase that because that was my third sip of bourbon for tonight.
I'm chugging beers as we speak.
I'm getting there. I'm not a big drinker, and the audience knows that. They're waiting for me to pass out on the keyboard again. So there's people developing a film, and now if they bring you something that you're not digging entirely, are you going to have any creative control or input on that?
I'm going to try. I'm going to pull every fucking string I've got. But if they say, well, we can't really do that because that won't sell, I'll say, okay, whatever. Either they're going to make a great movie, which I'll love, or they'll make a shitty movie, which I'll hate. Either way, I'll get paid. If not, if it doesn't happen at all, I still have a gorgeous fucking castle in the sky. I can look at all the trains go by and fuck. It's going to work out one way or the other.
Got a little golden safety net there.
I can afford this beautiful apartment I'm in forever. And I would love to be able to afford a big fucking gorgeous mansion somewhere. I mean, it doesn't have to be a mansion. I just really want to live in a nice old house like my grandma's house,
Oh, sure.
Yeah. She didn't live in a mansion, but it was a fucking nice house. Old stairways and stuff. That's what I want.
Yeah, my dad designed and built our home, and so there's...
Yeah, so my father did the same thing.
It was, coming down here, we moved into a development, and at first it was exciting for me and my younger brother, because it was like the equivalent of moving to the city for us.
Right.
Because we'd been out in the boonies forever. And coming down here, and we got into that, and so it was frustrating for me as I got older there, because there wasn't anything that was accessible. You'd still have to drive 10 to 15 minutes to go to hang out with a friend, and now I'm close to downtown, and so I kind of cashed in on it, and that would be like a long term. I would love not necessarily even a big house. I'd be willing to settle for a tiny house, but with a big slab of land. That's really what I would like, but I gotta get out of here. But we'll patch that up. I'll get the land, you put your house on that, and we'll hold.
That's a good idea.
We'll hold Drinky Festival every year.
Yes.
Drinky Man.
For sure.
We can soak him up.
Drinking Man. But
So-
I don't really care if I have a big house. I just want a pretty one. I just really want one.
Absolutely. You can bring everything out from the garage and put it in there and just continue to
Sure.
recreate that heaven of yours on Earth.
I can put chandeliers and stained glass windows in a small house. I don't care.
I got a guy that can hook you up with stained glass.
We'll talk after the show.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Antique stained glass or new?
Probably a little bit of both. Have to talk to my wife about it.
Yeah, I like that antique stuff. That shit that you see, like when you go to an old cemetery and you look in those little tombs, and in the way in the back, you see a little piece of stained glass. Like, why can't I get that thing?
Because it's saved for somebody else. That's why they're there.
Saved from, yeah.
You have to earn that glass.
Saved for some ghost earned it. Yeah.
So you're in the process of a movie. You've done a television show, and I'll put that in quotes. So you did the Drinky Crow show on Adult Swim, and you were involved in that, or was that something where you just signed off on something?
No, we worked on it together. It was a fun show. It was like 50 minutes on Adult Swim. It was like at 1 o'clock in the morning, so not that many people saw it, but enough saw it that really loved it. So it was a lot of fun. No, I worked on it. It was CG animated, and which wouldn't be my first choice, but that's the card I was dealt with. So we made it as pretty as we could. I kept telling them, I want you to make it look like an old newspaper come to life. And they did try to do that, like an old Sunday newspaper.
Yeah,
and it was funny because what?
No, yeah, that's how it looked. It looked good in my opinion.
Yeah, and I was happy with it too. But the thing is that when we first brought in all the storyboard artists to work on it, they were most of them had come from Spumco, meaning Quick Falusi's crew.
Yeah.
From Ren and Stimpy and all those old shows, which I loved. But I didn't want it to look like Ren and Stimpy. I didn't want to have that squash and stretch, exaggerated. It's called squash and stretch when you do like Bugs Bunny stuff, where, or Tex Avery stuff, where it's like wow, Uga when the wolf puts his tongue out when he sees a pretty girl go by and his eyeballs bug out, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I don't mind the eyes bugging out. That's fine. But I wanted to move more like Bullwinkle, like snap to poses,
Pulling together. Yeah.
A hammer just happens to be in his hand, and he bangs you in the head with it.
A combination of limited animation and
yes,
bringing in that that element.
Yeah, quick movements, like Bullwinkle. But I sat them down and I said, okay, boys, I am here. I know you're all from Spumco. I love Ren and Stimpy, but I am gonna beat the Spumco out of you guys. And they all laughed and they tried not to, because everything they did looked like it had come from the Spumco crowd.
Really?
So that worked.
At least through the storyboarding phase.
Well. We all had a good time.
I'm sure John beat a plenty good chunk of Spumco out of him before he went out that door.
Yeah, of course.
That's a guy.
Yeah,
you ever met with
interesting
John?
Character? No, I know that. I've heard that he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I was taking his online cartoon class a few years ago, and there was an element, if I may be so blunt, when the allegations came out against him a few years ago. What
did he do? He's fucking with some kids or young girls or something.
Grooming young ladies.
Hang on a minute.
Tony Millionaire is down, ladies and gentlemen. Stand by.
Hang on. Stand by. Okay, I'm back to normal.
We got it.
Recording thing fell on the ground. Go ahead.
Gotcha. All right, the reels are rolling.
I'm ready.
Okay, so yes, John got Me Too'd and was accused of grooming young girls, and not just young girls, but fans. And something that was rolling through my head because I was paying a lot of close attention to his specific notes, and this is why this craziness is here. But I don't know if it is something that he said or if I've just planted this in my head, but it was, I want people to watch this and think about what kind of sicko would create something like this. And the entire time he's doing it, he's got these young girls. He's like, yeah, I'm that sicko, and I'm going to sell you stupid little monkey T-shirts. And so funny. I've been kind of on a wave with John for the past couple of years. I don't know how to feel about it, and he disappeared for a bit, but I don't know. Maybe this will either be the birth of a kinder, gentler John, or he was already an unstoppable force.
Right.
As the internet has dubbed him, the autistic godfather of cartoons. Which I will give him that.
He was great as far as his talent was concerned. It was amazing. I loved that stuff.
He knows what he's doing. And he was fighting through it for years, through the 80s, with Filmation and all of that stuff. See, now there's somebody that might have been able to pull off what you were looking for. If you want slow moving and a lot of talking, you could have got the He-Man crew on there.
Yeah.
But you end up getting the people that were known for spastic.
I'm very lucky that most of my fans are like pimply, disgusting-looking 20-year-olds, so boys. So I don't really have much desire to start groping them. So I'm off the hook.
Yeah, well, that's the graphic novel crowd for you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you do any of these comic book conventions or shows or things like that?
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I love signing books and talking to pimply faced 20-somethings. I mean, it's they love comics and they know so much about comics. It's like surprising. They all ask me about like, what do you think about what John Schmickelhipper did? And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. They're like, what? You don't know John Schmickelhipper? I'm like, no, I don't really read very many comics. I know who Bud Fisher is. They're like, who? Bud Fisher, you idiot. He made Mutt and Jeff in 1915. Oh, yeah. What's that? See, I know all the really old guys. The dead guys.
E.C. Seeger, or who did Smokey Stover? I can't remember his name.
I don't remember his name either, but I love Smokey. So you know who really loves Smokey Stover is Kaz. He does the comic strip called Underworld. He's working on SpongeBob now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He's been working on that for a long time, yeah. He's doing really well. I think he won an Emmy for one of his comics, his cartoons. I'm not sure. But he's doing great over there. But he loves Smokey Stover. And I really love E.C. Seeger because, I mean, that's Popeye, man. That stuff is just incredible.
Thimble Theater, Popeye, some classics and stuff like that.
Exactly.
My kid is named after Max Fleischer and Tex Avery. So I'm a bit of a cartoon and comic. I don't want to say nerd because I feel like that I would say nerd. I feel like I should know more about it, but then I do start talking about it and people are like, yeah, this guy's a fucking nerd. I'm not ashamed of it, but sometimes I feel like I haven't earned it. But yeah, that's really what's always kind of drawn me back over to your work is that this preservation of the classic artistry that came through. I picked up a Sunday paper this weekend over at my parents' house, and I went to the comics page, and it's kind of neat that they're always in color, at least in this paper, but it's just so dry and or saccharine. How would you even put it? There was a Garfield comic, and it was just kind of blowing my mind that people like newspapers are still paying for Garfield comics.
Yeah, but there's still a lot. There's still quite a few good comics in those papers. You know what? I always really loved comics like Fred Bassett or even Family Circus. You know, it's like they're not made for. When you say the word nerd, I'm proud to be a nerd. I've been a nerd all my life.
You're here.
And I'll always be happy. It's just when you say fucking nerd, that kind of changes it all. But there's a lot of comics. I mean, the thing is, a lot of comics are not made for us nerds. They're made for moms and dads who like their little kids saying shit. And I love the way they work with their audience. Even comics like Kathy, people would like, oh my God, Kathy's shitting on Kathy. Like, dude, that's not for you. It's for women that work in offices. And she's very good at talking to those people. The fact is, she knows how to talk to her audience and how to, entertain or whatever the fuck she's doing with them. But they're not for you. If some artist knows how to speak to his audience or her audience well, that's success.
Absolutely. I will consider that the next time I pick up the paper, and I will dive deeper into it.
On the other hand, Garfield can suck a fucking dog. I hate that comic.
Yeah, it's a wet weenie wrapped up in last week's groceries, and they're just beating it. They're just beating it out. I don't even think Jim Davis is associated with it anymore. I think he actually sold it off.
I think within 2 years of it being, he wasn't drawing it anymore. He was proud of the fact that he had a team of people working on it.
Jeez.
But also that there's a comic strip in the paper we used to read called it was called F-.
Mm-hmm.
And the drawings were such fucking shit, and the jokes were just garbage, and it was almost too bad to be good, but it wasn't. It was just bad. And my daughters used to read that and they'd be like F. And my daughter Pearl said, F-. That's right. It's like
she got it.
And we used to I would read them every Sunday. I'd read them all the comics just to get them into comics, all the Sunday comics, no matter how shitty they were, every one of them. And we would when we come to a comic that we really hated, they would just punch the page. So it was it was just fun. By the end of reading it, by the time we get to the kids stuff at the end, the paper would be in tatters.
I still enjoy the kids stuff at the end. I like
yeah, me too.
Doing all the puzzles and I forget the name of it, but yeah, is that one of those back page comics? And it's just
Slylock Fox was there.
Slylock Fox and at least in the AJC we had something called Eggers, which was kids would come up with they would come up with their egg-shaped character and submit that, and you could get it in the paper. And that was always the fun part. And they, kids would write in jokes and stuff. That was fun for me. It was what tried to get me to come up with jokes and stuff like that. But I've
never seen Eggers. I know that a lot of these papers have their own
their own local thing.
Yeah, right. So you'd have a chance of getting your drawing in there.
Yeah, I think that was the main idea for that one. But that's also an interesting part. You can go from one newspaper to the other across the country on the same day and come across
Eggers.
So many. Yeah, you'll find Eggers back in Minnesota, Eggers to the west, Eggers to the east.
Eggers is a great idea. You get little kids to draw in their egg comics. It's great.
Yeah,
it shows you you don't have to be a great artist to be able to make comics. I remember Matt Groening said something about it. He said if you can't draw very well and you can't write very well, you can be a cartoonist. If you could do either one of them, if you can do both of them a little bit, then you can be a cartoonist.
So when did you start? Did you start writing things in a humorous way, or did you have something that you were able to draw, and then you would sit there and think of something for 10 minutes for them to say, and then move on to the next thing?
What are you talking about?
So if you have let's go with the strip. Maakies.
Yeah.
Maakies.
Yeah.
Maakies.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No.
Bourbon.
No. You start with a joke. And then you work backwards from that. How do I get to that joke? The joke has to be there first. And then you work backwards, how do I get the joke? How do I tell the joke?
I always kind of went in a biopic way, and so that's where I got stuck. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
You always in the you'll see in most of the Maakies strips, the first panel will be some setup drawing, which is a ship or some hospital, or doctor's hospital, with a word balloon coming out of it, and then you move in closer, and then you hear about what people are saying. But you got to start with your joke, and then go to it. I mean, doing stuff here's panel 1. I got panel 1 done. Now what do I do? That doesn't ever get you anywhere.
I feel like that is probably where I keep screwing up because I haven't finished a comic or really we'll just go with comic. I haven't finished something since I was in high school because I would sit all day in class trying to think of anything other than, what was being said to me. And then I would spend the rest of the day drawing stuff that I'd come up with in the morning. And I was able to get pages and pages through. Now these days, I keep starting out, and I'm like, well, okay, so now where can I go from here? But yeah,
it doesn't work though.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't.
It's like writing a novel. First, you've got the grand idea, then you figure out how to illustrate that idea.
Really does. Yeah, you have to do the processing and everything like that.
Of course, and also that's where a storyboard comes in. I mean, I do storyboards, but I do with long stories like the Sock Monkey stories. I'll always start off with the premise. Then usually I know the ending before I do any of it, and then I'll work my way to it, and then there's always storyboarding. You're gonna do little thumbnail sketches of what each panel's gonna look like, and each page is gonna look like what each panel's gonna look like, but I don't fill in the details. And as I go along, that's when all the details come in, And I'll do I'll take some really good dialogue and I'll just write it on a separate piece of paper. Or I post it and I'll stick it on the storyboard. Here's a whole conversation they're going to have at this point. And then you chain it all together until it works out. But you got to start off with the whole concept and then flesh it out. All at the same time,
Follow the process.
Yeah.
Keep it moving. That's really the difference between doodling, which I guess is what I've been doing, is, just starting out with something and can't figure out a place to go.
That's why you're a shitty cartoonist.
Yeah, well, nobody.
I've never seen.
Never seen one of mine, right?
I've never seen any of your comics. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
You have missed out on absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
But I'm working.
I'll make sure. On that note, I'll make sure I look you up.
If you can find anything, I wouldn't mind a copy. I've lost so much of the stuff that I've had over the years, and I would try to stash it on the internet. I know I've got a couple little cartoons that I've made, but now I'm trying to progress forward, and I haven't been drawing because I empathize with you, like not doing Drinky Crow or something, right? You're focusing on doing like the commissions. Like all of my art time, my free time goes into this show and performing with a group here in town, and it's just always there. So I haven't drawn in so long, but I was slightly bothered after the whole John Kay thing, actually, because I had been taking this little course at home for 2 years. I bought my light board,
really?
I had my peg boards, and I was working on copying. I got to the point where if I could see it, I could replicate it, and I was getting really happy with that. And then the bomb dropped, and it was a gut punch for me, because it's like, well, you've been studying from a creep, which I should have suspected being the Ren and Stimpy guy, but it really slowed me down for a little bit.
Listen, Adolf Hitler was a fucking brilliant strategist, and his sense of design was incredible. If you're just studying his sense of design, that's fine. Just don't start running around rounding up Jews, and you're studying from somebody who knows what he's doing.
See, and that's that is where I have to fight up. Even being able to say something like that now seems rough.
Yeah,
because I'm young, I'm a millennial, and so if I was to even suggest something like that, I had Facebook drama because I made a political comment. I said blah blah blah, fuck you. And just like half my friends list is like, fuck you, you're banned, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist sympathizer. No. And I'm like, wow. So that was, I guess it was at the same time, I was like, I didn't know how to feel about it. I felt like if I kept replicating the stuff that I was coming away from it with, I was like almost perpetrating a crime myself. It was a bizarre guilt complex. It's like, who did you study under? Hitler. Oh,
yeah, right.
Well, you're a nice guy, I guess. But that's where we're dividing. Have you ever had any issues with political correctness with your newspapers and the comics or anything like that?
For sure. I got kicked out of the fucking Baltimore Weekly, and the guy. The editor came on and wrote a whole fucking editorial about why he was firing me, what an asshole I am.
Wow.
So that was fun because you know what I said. The thing is, I'm a professional douchebag, so I can get away with that kind of shit that a lot of people can't get away with because the people know I'm just fucking around. I'm just a fucking asshole. But you read my comics and you can see where my heart lies.
Sure.
And the thing is, though, this editor who thought he, social justice warrior. I mean, I don't like to use that term in a negative way because the social justice warrior is doing what he should be doing, is fighting for social justice. But this guy was just a fucking prick, and he didn't like. Okay, the joke that I wrote was, there's people in court, a man, a woman, and the lawyer, and the lawyer stands up and the woman is like all pissed off, and he's standing up and he goes, "Your Honor, my client would like to sue for divorce," and he says, "On what grounds?" And he goes, "On the grounds that she's on the rag." Now, that joke did not fly. Okay. I mean, everybody that reads my comic, especially older people, laughed because it's just, I'm fucking making fun of that whole situation.
Yeah, that's the idea.
But the thing is, they're like, well, we know what you're doing. We know that's your excuse, that you're making fun of people who are like that, but you're still doing it. And there's no room for people like you anymore. So I saw that as an opportunity. I'm like, oh, really? So I wrote him a letter to the editor back. And then I got online and I started fucking slandering him, calling him a fucking prick and going on and on, just like swearing at him for being a douchebag. And it turned into we like art and we like the freedom of speech type of art, and we also or we don't like men talking about women like that. You know what I mean? So it got into a back and forth, which worked out positively and negatively. I mean, a lot of people fucking hated me for it, but what the fuck do I care? And a lot of people thought it was just funny.
Well, you've already got an audience.
Exactly. So
there's a lot of people out here that if say I just put my name on that comic and threw it up today,
that would
the same exact thing. Yeah, they would be like, "No, you are not welcome here."
No. I might even protest at that.
At which part?
Wow,
me taking your comic, or
I must just lit my own fucking hair on fire. I found an old Sock Monkey Zippo lighter, and I filled it up with I've been using it because I just started smoking again.
Congratulations.
My girlfriend smokes, and I don't want to smell her, so I smoke so they don't have to smell her.
It's camouflage.
Yes, camouflage. But the thing is, now I'm smoking until she gets her patches, and then we'll quit together in solidarity. But I haven't smoked in like 20 years, so I just filled the Zippo lighter up with lighter fluid just now, and I almost lit my fucking hair on fire because I put too much in.
I feel like this might be the most dangerous interview you've ever had.
Could be. I didn't smoke till now. But I'm very, very happy that the world has changed to that point. I mean, I've always been, I grew up as a hippie, and I've always had hippie values. And women's rights have always been important to me. And when I make jokes like that, I'm doing it in the face of it all. See what I mean?
Sure.
But if you do it with a balance of what Drinky Crow is about, it's mostly about idiots, making excuses for their own drunken, stupid, sloppy behavior. And the way
it's not encouraging or endorsing it. Yeah, it's the humor is in that. Well, it's not my fault. I was just blackout drunk again.
Right. Or like there was a whole comic strip about Uncle Gabby realizing that if he crashes the ship, it's not his fault. It's the sober himself's fault, because the guy who was sober, okay, there's Sobey and there's Drunky. The one who's sober, he bought the booze, so it's his fault that Drunky crashed the ship. So you should blame the sober guy, and not the drunk guy, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
and then maintain staying drunk, so you'll never have to receive blame.
Of course. Yeah, right. If you stay drunk he goes, hence, I'll always be drunk. And he goes, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll just stay being drunk. Then we won't be making decisions like buying all the booze. And so, of course, Drinky Crow joins in. He's like, yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, so that's kind of the absurdity of thinking in twisted ways. And so when you do that in a comic strip where you're making fun of a woman because she's on the rag, so she wants a divorce, it plays into that whole thing. So if you take it as a whole, it's one thing. But if you just wrote a joke about some cunt being on the rag and she wants a divorce because she's a fucking bitch, that doesn't really fly.
Not anymore. This isn't the Lockhorns, man.
Not anymore. It never has been a good idea. You know what I mean? Even you're right. The Lockhorns, they did get away with a lot. And Andy Capp, he's beat his wife
America's favorite wife-beating drunk, Andy Capp.
Right.
Was he American? I forget. Did we?
No.
No, that was a UK.
Absolutely British.
Yeah.
Working class British. Yeah.
Haven't seen him in a while, so it took me a minute.
No,
I don't even think they put him on the bag of hot fries anymore.
No. They got rid of that guy a while ago. But I'm glad they did. This is where the world has to go. Of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, do we need to bury Andy Capp and keep it away from people, or do we allow it to sit on the shelf at a library that that a kid can pick it up?
We don't do one thing or the other. It's none of our fucking business. It's there, or it's just there. There it is. You can't erase it or praise it. It's just there.
Just leave it alone.
It's a great fucking strip. Some of the jokes are fucking incredible. And the drawings are beautiful. I love them. Very simple drawings. But, and it's a great strip for what it was. But, fuck, I'm not going to defend it.
Understandable. And that's where the admiration for the initiative comes in. Because
that's where the admiration for Hitler's sense of design comes in.
There you go.
He had a big hand in designing those SS uniforms because he knew young soldiers, German guys are going to be like, oh my God, look at that black fucking uniform with a skull and a hat. I want that. And he was right. They loved it. They fucking gobbled it up. That's a sense of design and organization, which you have to admire. You don't have to admire. Having to admire Hitler is a bad idea, but,
For some people.
It's this whole idea of separating the art from the artist, which, to an extent you can do, and to another extent you can't. I mean, I'm not going to tell Hitler to design my house because it's going to look like fascist architecture, and that sucks anyway. Number two, it's fucking Hitler. Whatever.
Yeah, number two being Hitler.
It's dangerous territory. Number two being Hitler. Yeah.
Yeah, ugly house sounds good enough, but
yeah.
But number two, Hitler. Well, when did he come up with it?
Here's a story.
Okay.
I was in Germany. I had a German girlfriend. I was living in Berlin, and we went to go to her family's house for Christmas. And I met her old father, doddering old fuck. He was a dumb guy, and he was like, trying to talk to me. I could speak a little bit of German, but not very much at the time. And he,
I heard the song.
He was and he was talking. Right. And he was. I actually had a guy correct my grammar on that for that song. But a German guy. But anyway,
you had a German guy correct your grammar.
Yeah, I sang it in stupid American broken German, and he corrected the grammar. So I didn't sound that I was geschweißt, which sounds beautiful. I didn't sound that I was geschweißt. It sounds beautiful, which means a fence therefrom welded. In other words, we welded it into our fence. So we made a fence out of her bicycle. So, but anyway, that's different. So we went to her house, and he would look at me and would ask me a question, and then he would look to his girlfriend for the answer, or he would look at me. I would answer a question, and then he'd look at me, and then he would look at his daughter, and then ask me another question to her, because he had this idea that I could never understand what he was saying, which I could, because he was stupid and his German wasn't fucking highfalutin German. Anyway, we're sitting at the Christmas dinner, and we're eating our soup. And all of a sudden, he just goes, his hands trembling, he goes, if it wasn't for the Americans, and he pounded on the table, he goes, if it wasn't for the Americans, we would have won the war, and Germany would be the heart of Europe. And everybody just like fucking mouth open aghast. And they looked at me to see if I'd understood it. And I just smiled, eating the soup. I said, good soup. Pretending I didn't understand him. And then the daughter pipes up, the younger daughter pipes up. She's like, what about all the Jews you killed, Daddy? He goes, you and your Nazi friends. He goes, no, those were not Jews. Those were the images of dead soldiers. And he was like mumbling into his soup, like, he was trying to deny it all. But the thing is, I know that the guy was stupid. He joined the war when he was like, young.
Itty bitty.
And Yeah, he got shot in the ass, and he had a bullet lodged in his spine, and he had to lay down in the hospital for a year. It went while the war raged on, and then they sent him home. And that's his whole fucking experience. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He was just brainwashed like all those other idiots. So, it's like...
And he's the one that corrected your speech?
Yeah, he was... Yeah.
So
no.
No. So, okay, because you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, right. What did it really mean, right?
Which one was the grammar Nazi? That was the one I was going with.
That's good. That's a good joke.
I've got that one down. You can have that one.
It's good. I'll use it in the comics strip. That's very good. Very good joke. I can see. That's why you're a good cartoonist. You can write good jokes.
Oh, don't even begin to imitate flattery of me. I wouldn't know where to go with it. Isn't that right? I haven't even queued up. Last week I almost deafened the guest, but we have. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
That's nice.
They're here.
Nice.
It's a radio style show.
Nice
But these past couple of weeks it's just nice catching up with fellows with interesting ways to view everything. And
right.
So that was a terrible segue. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Pretty good.
That's why I'm on podcast territory,
Right,
Clear Channel ain't coming sniffing around for no Doktor Faux anytime soon.
No Dr. Faux.
But I get to sit here and I get to ramble. But I've never got anywhere with it. That's just the sad part. But they help me out. We're doing the Patreon and everything like that.
Oh, good.
And people are supportive of it, and so that I would hope that everything keeps continuing on.
A word of advice to everyone: please join Dr. Fox's Patreon. Go sign up so you can see more daily and whatever the fuck do you do? Weekly? What is it?
Weekly.
Weekly show.
Weekly show.
Yeah, every week. Otherwise, the little baby won't get his diapers.
Yeah, we need those diapers. We need all them diapers.
I did hear your adorable baby this afternoon. I told you my Auntie Sarah's great trick on how
which worked awesome. If you want to tell everybody, here's tips from Aunt Sarah via Tony Millionaire.
Tips from Aunt Sarah. We call her Aunt Say because that's how my daughters pronounce how pronounce Sarah when they were little. You take the baby, you hold it like you're holding a log, a big heavy log, walking towards the fireplace, right? Like in two hands in front of you, like you're holding like say you're lifting weights, right? You're holding a weight, two weights, or one weight. It's the baby, and you just drop it about a foot and raise it about a foot. Lower her, raise her, lower her, raise her, lower her, raise her, straight up and down, and the baby will stop crying and be happy and gurgle. It works every time. You do it for about 30 or 40 seconds, and then after at the most a minute, they'll stop crying. It works perfectly.
Worked for me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Thank you, Aunt Sarah.
I heard it work. What's your kid's name again?
Maxine Avery.
Oh, nice.
She was born on July 14th, which is Max's brother's Dave's birthday, as well as Joe Barbera's.
Ooh.
Middle name Avery, and
wow. Joe Barbera of Hanna and Barbera.
Of Hanna and Barbera, who
Yogi Bear
worked with a little bit of Tex Avery there at the end. We went with Tex Avery because, I love him, but he quit his job when he got edited.
Really?
Yes, Leon Schlesinger. I have to look up the name of the episode, but it's the dopey dog and Bugs Bunny fall off a cliff at the end, and they scream and they scream and they scream.
Oh, yeah.
And so the runtime of the cartoons is averaging 6 minutes per order, and they're like, "No, you got to bring it down. This is fucking stupid." And he's like, "No, I'm leaving it in." And he leaves it in. And later on, when they're reviewing final cuts that are going out, that this is what's going out, he sees that they've brought the screaming and falling segment, like half of it's gone.
Right.
And he.
I think I saw that. I think I saw that episode.
It's his last. So it's Tex Avery's last Bugs Bunny cartoon, and he goes to MGM and he does Droopy, and takes off with. Oh man, there's like the Nanook of the North or something like that. It was, Red Hot Riding Hood's first appearance and the Wolf and all of that. So yeah, I really like.
Right.
I like good old Tex. And Max,
nice.
in your wheelhouse, because we had some Popeye cartoons, and without Popeye cartoons, we wouldn't have gotten any Betty Boop. Really from Bosco,
Betty Boop came. Did Betty Boop come before?
I believe
Popeye,
I think she came after Popeye, because I think Fleischer was doing, or one studio or another was doing Thimble Theater cartoons, and they were.
Have you ever seen their cells? The cell animation. They worked in a studio in New York. Fleischers, and they had the screens. The cells are tiny. They're only like 10 inches wide. Little tiny images.
Well, they took advantage of that.
They had the cameras set up. Yeah.
Well, it was Max Fleischer was developing rotoscoping at the time, so they were using those small cells, and they would project a screen. Would be set about a foot or so behind it, and they'd have the footage of Cab Calloway dancing, and then he would paint over that. And Bob Clampett would do that later with a John Carpenter of Mars pilot that he worked with Fleischer on. And and then they go into that, and then you have the Popeye cartoons that they did, which were phenomenal because they had 3D sets built on a spinning table. And they would film it, and then they would rotoscope Popeye in. So doing Star Wars level special effects was really the first color animated synchro sound fully packaged cartoon in a franchise. It was blowing the hell up. And aside from Disney,
if you look at Disney and Fleischers, they were in big competition at the time. Mickey Mouse and Popeye, Mickey Mouse on the West Coast and the Fleischers on the East Coast. But the thing is that if you look at like Popeye when he's Aladdin and the Alibaba the 42s, I think it is one of those. Yeah. Where you see them, he's walking around the mountain, which I think later he pops a fucking turkey in and it comes out roasted, the giant buzzard, and it turns into a turkey. But anyway, while they're walking around the mountain and stuff, you'll see like the whole thing turns in 3D. You're like, what the fuck? The thing is that's weird about it, and it's done obviously on a spinning model. But the model, the painting on the model looks like just you can't tell it from the cartoon. It doesn't like stand out as that's obviously a model and this is the cartoon. It really looks like a 3D cartoon. I don't know how they did it. The painting on it must have been just backbreaking to get it just right.
It was people pursuing art, and they were enjoying making money off of it. Obviously. But they were artists and they were engineers, and it was it's a big divide now where it's it's creative, it's creator driven content, but 100 years ago being so. It was that's where it's the charming story for Walt. Like he was working on cartoons and doing this while simultaneously screwing over everyone. And he would continue on with that. And then you have people that are stepping into the game. And I'm trying to remember who did Felix the Cat. Was that Seeger?
Wait, who was screwing over everybody? Disney, right?
That was in this one little fan's opinion. He was. He was hiring people. He wasn't paying them, and he was screwing over his friend. And he continued to screw over his friend, and even after now we've all come back together and made Mickey Mouse, he would continue to screw over his friend.
Hey, sounds like my experiences with Viacom. Yeah, don't pay them.
Ooh,
pay them don't pay till they sue. This guy sucked. I don't know if they're still as bad as they were then when I was working for them. Jesus.
What were you doing with them at the time? Were you?
Just little things like I forget. I would get little jobs doing like a couple of pages of a comic book or something. I forget. It was not Viacom though. I can't remember what it was. It was I can't remember. Some animation type of shit. I can't remember what it was. A long time ago. But every time I'd work for a Viacom company, it just turned out to be a fucking nightmare getting paid.
Yeah, it's the things that you've trained for years, you've practiced, you've put together, and then you end up on. That's kind of where I pity like a draftsman, somebody that sits down and is going to pick up a pencil and a piece of paper, and they're going to draw the same fucking rectangle 10,000 times that day, and and I know a couple of them, and people that are doing technical drawings and architecture and stuff like that, and you make it over to their house, and they don't have a drawing table set up, they don't have pencils or things like that. It's like, no, I'm burned out, I've got nothing else that I'd rather do, and I understand that. My family coming out of like the industrial sector, I was the artist, I was the black sheep of the family. It's like, oh no. I started drawing a comic strip. I picked up a pencil. My dad said, "Why don't you use it to fill out a fucking job application?" Huh?
Yeah, right. Like that sounds like my father. He had the same problem.
Yeah, that's where it wasn't. But he's come to appreciate like the creativity that I've applied, and like I've gone out and I've done live shows, and we worked on albums and stuff like that. And he understands now that while it's so much fun being there and having that finished product, is that no one sees all of the work behind it. And I would have people tell me, "Man, I wish I could show up and do a show and get a wad of money and a couple of beers and hang out. It sounds like a great job." And I'm like, "Yeah, we have, we rehearse, we write. It's we traveled here. We got to get in the car and go. We lugged our own gear in."
We rehearsed this show all fucking for like 4 days. People don't even realize all this has been scripted.
We've been putting this together. I mean, I'm pretty good at going ad lib, but I've got the notebook. Who moved my note? This is where the show falls apart. I don't have my stack of paper, and I can't ruffle my stack of paper into the microphone.
Don't lose the script. God damn it.
Script is a 4-letter word. This is a proving ground. This is supposed to be a place where I'm supposed to be sharpening my wits, and I'm constantly going into battle unarmed.
Right.
And you have flintlock pistols. So this
I
is
have
one. Excuse me. That's the bourbon talking.
If you the magic of editing, that's me with the Budweiser. I have been plowing Budweisers like every time I can't ever even start a drawing at all until I've hit at least the 4th beer. Then I start. Like when we decided to start reading our script tonight, I remember you said, "Okay, we're ready to go," and I was like, "Oh fuck, I forgot to drink the beer," so I had to like down 3 of them real fast.
Yeah, it's a lot of prep. It's improvisational comedy is not real. It was all something that was developed by Viacom primarily, and they pushed it through. And whose line was it anyway? And these guys are from England, and I don't give a shit.
Does Viacom do the SpongeBob? They have anything to do with that?
Oh yeah, they are. That is their flagship is SpongeBob.
Yeah. Kaz works on SpongeBob now, and he told me that's one of the few cartoons around where most of the writing is done by the storyboard artists. I mean, not the storyboard artists, but like the writers. They sit around, they write the stories, they write them out. But a lot of the dialogue
that's
and the
what
way
makes
things
it distinct.
They happen on the spot, like Kaz is sitting there drawing and writing, and then of course it goes into a writer's room, and they hone it and make it funnier, and But it's one of the few where the actual artist is actually writing.
And you can see that with the episode in results.
Right, you can.
There is a different model for it's very SpongeBob. There's Spumco people over there, and they've carried over since John got fired, and they did Rocko's Modern Life. And they did games animation there, And I think they did Doug with Jim Jenkins, and they carried through. They carried through the '90s, and that is the what was Nickelodeon was supposed to be focusing on in the '90s was creator-driven content.
Right.
And with Rugrats and Doug, they're like, well, we got people that are working along and they're meeting the schedule, and then there's John who is like, we'll get it to you when it's ready.
Yeah. Right.
Which is still admirable. I understand, but if you're gonna go into that's where they said we're gonna give you complete control. Fuck yeah! And they fucked up so bad.
Yeah, he ruined it for a lot of people. Like, these guys don't meet deadlines. But
you got to hold
him not meeting deadlines. Yeah, he didn't meet the deadlines.
That was his milestone, was not having a deadline.
Yeah,
but he had done.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, he had done Hanna-Barbera and Filmation in the '80s, and that was all script room cartoons.
Right.
That is why it's so drastic from SpongeBob now.
Right.
It's a cartoon created by, in my opinion, people that like cartoons.
Right. That's what Cass would always say. He couldn't stand people that were writing writing cartoons that didn't know how to draw. Like, what? You don't have to know how to draw to write a cartoon, said I. Good God, I took a lot of shit from him for saying that.
Oof.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
Well, that's that Viacom juice in him. Keeps you moving,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Direct deposit can say a lot more than a check in the mail from some people. I understand that. But still, kudos to him for making it into what seems to be like a sacred area.
Also, he's making fucking money, man. More money than he ever made on any goddamn comics. That shit pays. I mean, Drinky Crow didn't pay well at all because it was like late at night. Not that many people saw it, and all those Adult Swim shows, they don't make a lot of money, but got people like that do kids cartoons. Jesus Christ, they rake it in.
11 minutes. You can put a theme song on it for 60 seconds, and then you push 4 minutes hard commercials, and then you do it again, over and over again. But would you? Ooh, here's another 4-letter word. So would you consider yourself like an underground artist?
I don't take the word underground as being any kind of a slam because, guys like S. Clay Wilson and Robert Crumb were definitely considered underground comics, and those are the fucking grandfathers of modern comics. I'll call myself an underground cartoonist. Yeah, sure.
So is that ever something that comes up when you're going through, let's say, a pitch meeting or something like that, and they're like, we don't, like, how often do you hear, we don't get it?
Never. From who? About what?
From from a review board or a marketing team or anything like that? Or have you...
Wait a minute. Who are all these marketing teams and review boards you're talking about? What job are you talking about?
Let's say doing Drinky Crow on Adult Swim.
No, they did give me a hard time about, this is the biggest fucking mistake they made.
Wow.
I'll tell you what it was. Hang on. I gotta blow some boogers out first.
Get them.
Which was that I had my friend Tom Kenny, who does the voice of fucking SpongeBob. He does a lot of voices on all kinds of cartoons because he can change his voice.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and he read for Drinky Crow to play the voice of Drinky Crow. I was like, this guy's fucking great. They said, no, we don't like him. He's too famous. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What?
Oh, man.
I know. And then I said, all right, well, how about Billy West? I got Billy West in there, and he did the voice. His voice was fucking incredible. His voice is even better than Tom Kenny's. It was just great. He played him like an old kind of like, hey, I'm invited to your party. See, what are these type of, this Puppy Bogart sounding voice for Drinky Crow. And it was fucking perfect. They said, no, he's too famous. He does Squidward. You're fucking assholes. So they got Dino to do it, Dino Stamatopoulos, who was their darling, and my darling too. I mean, I love Dino, and I've known her for a long time because my wife was on, my ex-wife was on Mr. Show.
Yeah.
She was Becky Thayer. She played, big characters on the Mr. Show. And so I got to know Dino Stamatopoulos. He's the guy who, Starburns on Community, that guy.
Yeah.
And he he's fucking great. He was doing this cartoon, Moral Oral. That was his cartoon,
Which I love.
Yeah, it was a great show, and it got canceled because Mike Lazo, who runs Adult Swim or did at the time,
That guy.
I don't know if he still does, but
I think he's still there.
He canceled it because he said, "Yeah, it's getting too dark." He's like, "What? The ratings are huge." They canceled it. And I was like, "What the fuck did he do that for?" And Dino goes, "Well, he was kind of right. It was getting really dark. The newest ones I had written, but so what? It's because it's and then when he canceled Dickie Crow, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? These ratings weren't spectacular, but they were pretty good for the time slot. They were decent ratings."
Yeah.
And he said, "Let me just tell you something about Mike Lazo. Working for Mike Lazo is like, as you do work for him, it's like you come into his living room and dance on his coffee table. When he doesn't like to dance anymore, he cancels you. So every cartoon is done basically for his decisions. He's the one who thinks he's like, the guy who knows best about what should be on his.
He's Mr. Space Ghost, you know.
That's why, that prick. He is. Is that his voice?
No, well, he's not the voice. He was that was his baby. He did Coast to Coast and went from the basement up.
It just sucked, didn't it? I can't remember. I don't think I ever watched it very much.
I liked it.
But I can't remember. I really don't. I shouldn't say because I didn't watch enough of it to make an opinion. But, but he's a fucking snivelly little cunt. I never liked that guy.
Well, he never credited
like
the writer and the voice actor on Space Ghost who did Zorak and Moltar. He never gave him a writing credit.
Yeah, see, he's a douche.
Yeah.
But, he was the guy you had to dance on the coffee table for, and he would cancel the show because he just suddenly didn't like it anymore. Fucking good shows. And then he started running all these, live action shows, like Mighty Boosh, which is a great show, but it's not a cartoon.
Yeah.
That was fucking brilliant. So I didn't like it at the time because it replaced Drinky Crow. That fucking sucks. It's not even a cartoon. And then years later, people were like, "You gotta watch the Mighty Boosh." Like, what? And I watched it. I was like, "Oh, this really is good." Yeah,
I figured you would enjoy it, but it was dark, but it was absurd. And it kind of hits me where you're saying, that they came at you and they're like, "Yeah, it's getting too dark." But I mean, it is late night television,
right?
And your show would be, I wouldn't say equally as absurd because how could something ever be? But you had you had a wacky show with zany characters doing funny things and in hazardous ways.
He didn't think my show was too dark. I'll tell you why that show got on the air at all.
Yeah.
We were finishing up the pilot, and so the producer Eric Kaplan and I, we were executive producers together. And he was a director. Anyway, he was a producer, and he wrote most of the episodes. We would hire other writers down there who did great jobs, but he did most of the work. And Eric Kaplan wrote a lot of the Futurama shows, and he, works with Matt Groening a lot. And he, great guy, one of my closest friends. But I've been fawning over him just so much over the past 30 seconds. I can't remember what I was going to say about him. Okay, how we got on the air. So he says, he talked to the Nick Weidenfeld, who was the second boss over there. He said, we're going to do another pass on the sound so it sounds better. And Nick said, "Don't bother. I'm just going to tell you that we're not going to pick up the show. Just as a heads up." And he was like, "Oh, fuck." And he called me up. He goes, "Yeah, they say they're not going to pick up the show." I said, "The fuck they aren't." I said, "Eric, we're going to stick bayonets up our asses and look proud. Just like, we're going to put bayonets up our asses and look bold." It was a line from The Man Who Would Be King. And he, fuck, my ex-wife was trying to call me. Fuck that. I'm not going to answer that. And he, no way. And
you got a show to do.
So I called up a friend of mine, Sam Sifton, who was my editor at the New York Press when the comic strip started, the Ricky Crow comic strip started. I said, "Sam, they say they're not going to pick up my show." He goes, "The fuck they aren't." He goes, "I'll put you on the front page of the arts and leisure section of the New York Times where he was working."
Uh-huh.
Like, fuck yes, Sam. So he says, but you got to do my drawing. So I did a drawing of myself, toiling away at the comics, and then getting on television, and then sitting back, drawing of myself wearing a tuxedo and like in a mansion, watching myself on TV like he's success, like as though I had been picked up. And he's like, yeah. And then he had a guy fly out from New York to come and interview in my backyard, and he ran a whole fucking article on the front page of the fucking arts and leisure section. Then I went over to my friend Adam McKay. You may have heard of him, the famous movie director.
Yes.
Adam McKay, who did the voices years and years ago on the SNL cartoons that I made. I did some Drinky Crow cartoons for SNL, Saturday Night Live.
That was the first time I saw him, yeah.
Yeah, I was smart enough he was the head writer of Saturday Night Live at the time. So I asked him to do the voice because he had this beautiful, big, gravelly voice, just like Uncle Gabby. And I got Andy Richter to do the voice of Drinky Crow because Andy Richter's my brother-in-law, was my ex-brother-in-law now.
Whoops.
Well, we're both ex-brothers-in-law because he divorced his wife and I divorced mine like a couple months later.
Oh, so now you're kind of even closer.
I know,
now you're real
closer.
Brothers.
Now we can like warn each other about what's being said, what we hear, the gossip over here. It's great. Hey, I didn't say that. Shit, strike that.
Yeah, that's it. We'll cut it in post.
That fucking thing together. Cut it in post. And so I went to Adam McKay. I said, Adam, they're going to. By now he's a big, famous big shot. He goes, they don't want to run my. I knew what I wanted him to do. I wanted him to call them and ask them about movie rights to the Drinky Crow show. And because I don't make them stand up on their fucking ass. So I'm sitting there with him, and he goes, I said, they want to pick up my show. I'm all bummed, I don't know what to do. He goes, how about if I call them and ask them about movie rights? I said, you fucking asshole, you read my mind.
Yeah.
So he did. So here you got Adam McKay calling for movie rights. You got Sam Simpson on the front page of the fucking New York Times art section on the Sunday paper. And they're like, fuck, all right. So they gave me the show.
Jeez.
Now, Mike Lazo did not like he found out later that he had been kind of duped. And he did not like that at all. Because he found out later that, he knows the guy at the New York Times, and, he worked with Adam McKay before. So that's one of the reasons that it got canceled. He did not like that.
It was just, he was able to sweep it out.
Yeah, so he's like, fuck this guy. He never liked the comic, the strip anyway, because, it's like, those guys are all stoners, right? And you can imagine them all sitting around him and a lot of the audience at that time, anyway, for Adult Swim, were stoners. And they'd be sitting there watching the show going, the fuck, he's just a fucking alkie. Why is he such a fucking alkie, And though a lot of people liked the strip of the show, a lot of people didn't. So, that's why you could see what didn't really fit his idea of what's in the wheelhouse,
Yeah, it's a different school of thought. And that isn't something that I really had put in was, even though I feel like the show fit, but yeah, the audience, it would be primarily, there's a reason they're up at 2 a.m.
Right.
On a Thursday.
College kids.
Yeah, exactly.
College kids and kids that never went to college, yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that it was too dark. Yours was just too deep.
No. It wasn't. No, Moral Oral, he considered, the new Moral Oral season, he considered too dark. Not Mike's. Not
okay. I'm sorry. I crossed those over. All right.
Yeah. No, he didn't think it was too dark. Maybe it wasn't dark enough. Who knows?
Jeez.
I don't know. Well, no. Who knows doesn't apply. I just told you the story of why it happened.
But you get an executive producer title, and you get an animated series out, and I think that's a great accomplishment.
I was talking to Kaz one time. I said, "Fuck, man." I only got on one goddamn season, 1:00 in the morning. He goes, "Tony, you got a TV show. Shut up.
You got a TV show."
I said, "Yeah, I guess you're right."
And so you've got where you are, you get to say, I'm an underground artist, because I think you have to get to say it. Because you can sell out and you can jump on board, plenty of these other trains. You have content that you've created. You have content that has been crafted relevant to your interests and your upbringing and what you appreciate and what you would like to see in society. Like, you're pushing, like, I know the jokes are bawdy, but it's to bring it to the front page.
Right.
Like, hey, why don't we talk about this? Okay, yeah, she's a cunt on the rag. Let's talk about why do we think that's funny.
I never actually used the word cunt.
I understand.
So it didn't go that far, but you know what I mean.
But yeah, exactly. And so you're able to manufacture this, keep it in, and then you still got executive producer. You didn't have to turn it over and have somebody manipulate and warp. You didn't have to go through Filmation. You didn't have to go through any of these other screwball companies. Yet you had to do what they had available, which was the CG, which I think you guys totally nailed, because I thought it was so aesthetically pleasing the whole way around. It was
one of the
great.
good things about it was that I got to work with an animation company from fucking Transylvania. I mean, they really were in Transylvania, in the Romanian section. It's a part of Romania, is Transylvania, and that's where their fucking studio was located.
Oh, so it was just daily life for them. It's like, yeah, I can relate to this.
Yeah.
Insert.
So late at night, we would be like up all night, like waiting for them to get out of bed, because it would be like 3 a.m. for us, and they'd be getting out of bed, so we could talk to them over Skype and figure out go over the notes and all that stuff. It was fun. It was a really fun job. I really liked it.
And I think it was very enjoyable. I'm glad that you were able to slide in there. But you're not the only person that I've talked to about having to jump through some of these hoops, and that's where I would say go for that internet, man. It is it is hard. It is still hard. You can't just drop it on there.
Young people will ask me, young cartoonists, how can I get a show on Adult Swim? It's like, okay, here. First, get a comic strip in a newspaper, and then make sure that guy gets promoted to be like the editor, an editor at the fucking New York Times, and then call him in for a favor. And then when they tell you that you're not going to get your TV show on the air, call Adam McKay and see if he'll get you in. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much fucking. Like Woody Allen said, half of the job is being there. It's like there's so much shit that goes on because of who you know and who. Because I always was very good at going to this is how I got in the fucking New York press in the first place. I was doing the comic strips for like some local zines, and some guy at the New York press showed my stuff to the boss, and I was like, okay, where's the boss? I went to a Christmas party. Somebody invited me to a Christmas party there. Where's the boss? It's right over there. I said, all right, watch this. I went over there, and the key is this: you stand in front of the boss and be funny. And I'm good at that. So I stood it because in those days I was a big drunk and it was hilarious. And so I'd stand in front of him and I was just very funny. And by the end of the night, he poked me in the chest. He would never look at me. He's a weirdo. He poked me in the chest, and he said to the art director standing right next to him, "We got to get this guy a comic strip." Bingo. That's how you do it. Now I don't know where the fuck you go to do that nowadays.
I think you have to do what I'm doing and find people that you like and start buttering them up and telling them how great their stuff is, and then, hey, can you pass something down for me? Yeah. But I gotta get back. I gotta get back to bar napkins. I gotta work on stuff.
There's never anything to pass down. It's not like, how can you get me in on a thing? Nobody can get anybody in on a thing. The thing is, you just do what you do well. I mean, you do podcasts obviously very well.
Thank you.
Just do what you do well and keep doing it, and eventually something comes out of it that you really like.
Well, I'm enjoying it. It would be nice that it was self-sufficient, and that's why I'm willing to keep rolling with it, try to get better at all of these things that I love to. I love to create, and I love to do all these things, and so I'm driving to do that, and it's a bold new frontier. I have to learn all of these different things about the internet and how to get money and the safe ways and safe bank accounts to put the money into so you don't get audited. Because that was a big deal with Patreon users, I think 1 or 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
But I'm not making that much yet. But
Right.
it's
Well, I had to figure out how to open a bank account that my wife wouldn't be able to know how much was in it.
Well, I think I know a guy. Actually, no, on that one,
No.
I out of everybody here, okay, all the divorced
Believe
listeners
me,
in the chat
don't worry
room,
about it. Don't
fill
worry.
us in.
Don't worry. I already figured it out. The deed's been done.
Mason jar under the mattress.
No, it's Bank of California. Don't tell anybody. A very small bank in California. They're very good. They don't send the bills to my house. They don't sell the statements to my house. They send them to me.
You got a credit union?
Anyway. Oh yeah.
Stick with those credit unions, kids. They'll treat you right. Open up a CD with 2% annuities today.
They're good. I bought like a bunch of cars in a credit union. I didn't have any fucking credit at all, but I had a credit union. That was good. That was back in the days when I was trying to get a hold of some. Did I hear you vaping?
That was sipping the bourbon and a little RC cola.
Right. It sounds like a bourbon sip, yeah. Yeah. Well, my advice? I don't know. That's my advice.
Just keep doing it.
Do what you do well and keep doing it. That's the only advice you can give anybody.
Well, one day maybe.
Well, the thing is this. The thing is, you're like, you told me you're a millennial. So
I'm screwed.
Young. So I got to tell you, when I first started doing the Maakies comic strip, I was making $25 a week. So it ain't like I hit it big. I just did something that I loved doing and it was good at. And I was like, well, keep doing this. It doesn't pay now, but eventually now, I'm like at least self-sufficient.
It's why I didn't get into a career in video editing and stuff like that. I worried that I would end up like the draftsman, and I wouldn't want to pick up a pencil. I wouldn't want to come home. I had jobs where I was in IT, and I would come home and I wouldn't want to play a video game because I'm done looking at computers all day. My eyes hurt. I'm tired, and it's scary for me. I worry that I'll lose that. So I don't mind kind of slaving away at the day job while I'm able to set a couple hours aside each week and do all this.
Right.
So
I'm also at the point where you are getting something out of it. That's good because you do something you like. That's good. I never draw for pleasure anymore. I did when I wasn't a professional illustrator. I never do it unless I'm getting paid anymore.
Sure.
But the good news is the stuff that I do to get paid, I love doing, so that's fine.
That's the best kind of payment.
Right.
Is a satisfied job. It's
exactly.
Being able to devote time to doing it and doing it your way. And with commissions, I understand, they can pile up and you got to get stuff out, but you're still able to do your work in your own bubble, that you're able to craft everything, not just what you're working on, but the atmosphere that you have and something like that. And it's nice, and it's something, that's what I'm striving for. I'd love to own a nice place that I can just sit and enjoy doing these little shows and stuff like that, and coming up with ideas. And so it's been a very encouraging story from you. And
of course.
The same with our...
Just do what you like to do, and eventually... I never got paid, really got paid, till I was like, 40-something.
I can hold out till
you know
then.
What I mean?
But now I've got a kid. How old were you when you had your first kid?
42.
All right. I am 10 years younger than you with my first. So so with that,
doesn't matter,
because we're getting to that time, and like the audience is packing up, and I gotta go check on that baby in a few minutes. So what are give me some advice to go on? Like what's some stuff that I should look into to help inspire my kid?
Oh yeah. Go fucking show them everything. That's it. Just show them everything. You know that my daughters after a while got sick of it. I know they're mountains, Dad. Like, good God, look at those mountains. I grew up with no mountains, so I'd be like, look at the mountains. Because every now and then the light would just hit the mountains, just glance off of them, so that they were, I live in Pasadena, there's mountains behind us. Where it would glance, small mountains, but they're mountains. Glancing off, the sunset would hit them just right, so the light is like, look how the light is just hitting the top of that mountain and glancing off the side of that one. And they would notice it. it's getting them to look at the world, you know? All these little things. You don't have to look at the TV for shit. You take them to the woods and you look at that fucking leaf, the way it's orange over on this corner of it, and it has this little thing. You know, showing them bugs. One time my daughter goes, Dad, I know you don't like it when I kill bugs, but there's a big spider in my room and I want to kill it. Can I kill it? I said, all right. If it comes in the house, you can give it the death penalty, yes. You know what I mean? Because the thing was, she said to me, I know you don't like killing bugs, because I taught them long. Don't kill a bug. A bug wants to live as much as you do. Don't kill it. You know? So, you know, it's just stuff like that. Just keep them, teaching them how to be kind and how to look at the beautiful things that there are in the world. That's all you can do for these kids.
I was in first grade. There were kids smashing earthworms, and I ended up making a sign. I made a sign that said, "Save the worms," and I taped it to my desk, and I was ridiculed for weeks for being empathetic towards the earthworms. And this was a Christian school, too.
Well,
it was
Christians are not fucking...
They're mean.
Christian.
They're mean.
Yeah.
They have a justifiable meanness to them. I can do this because I've been told. That's where I was getting to with before we ended up with how Hitler ended up creating the modern fetish wear industry. It was you know, the idea that there are people that want to be progressive and they want to make things better, and that the heart, the core of that is really positive. And it's like, yes, let's push together and let's be equals and things like that. But just like Christians, people that strap that on, I'm doing the right thing, I'm trying to save the world, and they tell you, no, you can't make a joke about a girl on the rag.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't make a joke about the girl on the rag. You're kind of right about that, but still, you shouldn't be fucking being a goddamn douchebag to people either.
Yeah, be nice.
It's all about be nice. You just said exactly the right words. Be nice. Right?
It was a major shift for me. I used to be a big jerk. Now I'm a huge pussy.
Yeah,
so,
right. See?
It's
you used to be a big jerk, wanted to save the worms. Now you save fucking worms.
Save them all.
Don't fuck the worms. That's what I say.
Except those big ones. Those you bring back in. That's some tender love right there with the big worms.
That's right. Yeah, you leave them. Yeah, you leave them alone. Poor little bugs. They want to live as much as anybody else does.
Yeah, and I like living. I don't know why anything else wouldn't enjoy it.
Exactly.
Other than some sentient people that I know.
The other thing is give them lots of art supplies or any kind of like tools that they can use to make shit. You know what I mean?
Okay, rapid fire. Favorite brand of pencil?
It's in my hand. Is it a Faber-Castell? No, it's a Staedtler 4H. I use 4H because it's hard, and when you draw with it, you can't barely see the lines, so it doesn't smudge up your drawing. A number 2 pencil will fuck up your drawing because it's too soft, so it makes a dark line everywhere. And then when you do an ink over it, you gotta erase it, and it just smudges away. It's not good.
Favorite kind of paper?
Bristol board, Strathmore Bristol board.
Photo blue or non-photo blue or non-photo red?
I don't use either of that shit. I just use a very fine pencil.
Nice. Appreciate it.
I don't do that. I don't do non-photo shit. I know I've seen artwork that's got blue shit all over it. Originals, it just ruins the originals because it's got this blue shit all over it. What are you gonna do with that? I erase the pencil lines.
You erase pencil lines?
They come off easily. On an original drawing, I erase them.
When you say original, you mean like a one-off?
If I do a comic strip, I sell the original drawing for a lot of money.
Sure.
That's where I get a lot of the money that I've earned over the years of selling the originals. If you've got blue lines all over the fucking thing, it looks ugly. If you draw with pencils, and then you do the ink on top of it, and you take like a Mars, like a eraser, a gum eraser, or some kind of eraser. You go over it and you just erase it. The ink doesn't get affected, and the pencil marks go away. So you get a crisp black and white ink drawing.
What do you ink with?
I ink with a, what kind of pen do you use? I use a Rotring art pen, which is a long fountain pen, which you can buy, you can only buy them online anymore, I think. But
Does it have a feather on it?
A little bit of a feather tip to it. It's got a little bit of a give. It's like a fountain pen, but it's not as givable as a quill. Yeah, but it doesn't make a fucking, like when I use quills, I fucking dribble ink everywhere on them, so I can't use them. You know, dipping it into the paint, like into the ink bottle, like my grandfather used to do. I can't do that. It's too messy, especially when I get a job out in the morning.
I think that's all I've really got.
Oh, you mean a feather? A feather
like a feather?
Back?
Yeah.
Like Benjamin Franklin feather?
That's where I was aiming. Yeah. Only.
Okay, no. I thought you meant that the tip would feather, meaning that it spreads out when you push down on it.
No,
No.
I got that one too.
Okay,
I got that one too. But yeah, I just imagined you every time over a piece of paper putting something out that the feather would on your quill or your pen would be longer than the one on your hat.
Right. No, I use long pheasant feathers on my hats. But one thing I'll tell you about the conversation we just had, I started when we began, and I just finished drawing a beautiful Chihuahua. Very beautiful drawing, because the guy sent me a nice photograph, and I just finished it, so I earned, let's say, less than $1,000 and more than $100 as we spoke. Good, huh?
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's some
thank you very
real
much.
multitasking there. And I'll show you what I do. In fact,
What?
I gotta pull it up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Usually I do this at the hour break, and we did the one song, Marion's Bicycle, which was super great. I enjoyed that.
Thank you very much.
And I'll remind everybody to keep your eyes peeled for the Tony Millionaire show from Tim Maloney, to check out the Drinky Crow show. If somebody wants to buy some stuff from you, what's the best way to do that?
Go to TonyMillionaire at Maakies.com. No, you have to not do that, because that doesn't work anymore. You have to go to, you used to be able to go to Maakies.com, but that doesn't work anymore. You have to go to Millionaire at Mindspring.com and just email me. Fuck it.
Get up on that Mindspring, everybody.
Millionaire at Mindspring.com. Send me an email. Bingo.
How long
Or
have you
find me
had
on-
that email address?
I know. That's why it's Mindspring.
That's
and I
fantastic.
I had to buy it from them when they went out of business.
Jeez.
Because they sell all my books. And now people think it's like, wow, Mindspring, that's weird, cool. Like, no, that's just an old email address.
Yeah, I wonder if my old Net Zero account is still up.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, this is what I do, and I thank everybody for listening to Time for the Show. And, Tony, do you ever feel dirty?
Yes.
Well, if you ever feel dirty on the outside, that's something that we can help with. Because Triology Soaps is an amazing, homemade, subgenius company that is making real soap, complete with little Bob Dobbs heads in them. And there's some Time for the Show throw-in jokes every once in a while. But they are our proud sponsor of Time for the Show. And then we have the shout-outs to all of our Patreon listeners for their monthlies, which is Dr. Cosmac, Dr. Trench, Reverend Codeine, Scowpod, Reverend Couch Sloth, Apostasy X Fenord, Caller 23, Hazel of the Windmills, YB Dobbs, Martha Artha, Reverend Richard Negative, Agent Lloyd, Vanessa, Long Dead, Reverend 80, Cat Feather, Reverend Guimo, Jitney Fricoeur, Guru Drew, and Elvis Martini are people that have donated and have constantly supported Time for the Show for the past 2 years now.
Wow.
So we really appreciate it. And anybody listening can go to patreon.com/hypercube, and you can get nifty doodads in the mail and crap like that. We will totally hook you up with all of our new Hypercube deals and savings. And with that, I encourage you, I implore you, go for that Patreon, because these guys are totally helping me out every month.
Yeah.
So I'm basically I'm at a 90s Maakies level. So as long as I keep doing this show, I can afford the internet. I only need a part-time job to keep the lights on. So let's go for full-time, everybody. But thank you, Tony Millionaire, for sharing with us. I'm a big fan. I really appreciate you coming on and talking with me for a little while. I got a lot out of it, and I was watching the chat through it, and they seemed to enjoy. There was one question from the chat. Where was it? And okay, so Dr. Cosmac asked Tony about how his lines never cross. All his hatching is parallel. What does Maakies mean?
Maakies, the meaning of the name Maakies. I used to call it Maakies, but it sounds too similar to the word Maakies, Mockies. And if you're from New Jersey or New York, you'll know that means like, a Heb or a Jew in a bad way. It's kind of like a slur for a Jew. So I changed the name to Maakies, making sure nobody would mistake me for being an anti-Semite. Some of my best friends are Jewish, but I had to. But the thing is, the meaning of the word I can't tell you until a certain person dies.
Gotcha.
But as for the cross-hatching thing, I used to be a big fan of never cross-hatching, but I changed my mind after seeing a few Mastercrafts cross-hatches. So I do cross-hatch now and then, just to make it dark. But the thing is, what I don't like is straight cross-hatch, like straight, and then sideways. I don't like that. You got to be really careful with it. Most of my lines go just parallel. They do touch, but the parallel to give it a sort of to work in grays and textures. You know what I mean? But that's just personal. It's just personal taste. A lot of people do cross-hatch very well. Okay. Rick Griffith is a master of cross-hatch. He does really well with Zippy.
Good
I
stuff.
want to give a shout out. I want to give a quick shout out to Cat Feather.
Yeah.
One of your supporters, for having a great name.
She is great. She's an artist, but she's not doing art right now. She seems like she's fed up with it, but she she showed up onto the art scene, and I think she was kicking a lot of ass, and she was traveling all over the country and just blowing it up. And she was getting pet commissions. And in fact, I believe the last pet commission that she did while she was staying at Hypercube here in Orlando was a Chihuahua. So
I gotta tell you, right around Christmas time, that you can't fucking put the pen down for the dog drawings, because that pays bills fast.
You hear that, Cat Feather? The dog drawings.
Listen, Cat Feather, I'm gonna sing a song to you. You ready?
Please.
It's time to pick up the pen off the pig. It's time to pick. The revolution has come. Off the pig. It's time to pick up the pen off that pig. Off the pig, everybody.
Off them pigs.
Yeah, unless you have a police officer for a father or relative, then don't off them.
Not around here. Not with these people. No, too many degenerates in the Hypercube.
That's good. Okay.
Maybe that's the secret. Maybe all of our dads are cops, and we just haven't figured it out yet.
Every dad is a cop. If he's not, he's a bad dad.
You know what? I've been really angry about drivers in my area recently, and I haven't, thrown out the idea of going to get a badge or something. I got a kid in this car now. I'm ready to crack some skulls.
Takes a strange mind to decide to be a policeman.
Well, they're on the roads all day with these people.
We need our police. If we didn't have the police, what the fuck would happen? It wouldn't be good. So,
but
whatever.
They could be nice.
Don't off the pig yet. We'll do it later.
Save the pigs, everybody.
Save the pigs.
For later.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony, for talking with me tonight. I'm going to go take care of tucking my soon-to-be cartoon-addicted child away. Appreciate it again, and we'll send you the link when the episode's up. Everybody else, subscribe at timefortheshow.com. Thanks to Dr. Ellis and Martha Artha at freethinkradio.com for hosting the show, and for all the people that tuned in tonight to hear Tony. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.